My name is Barbara Black, and I'm telling my quilt story at the Faith Presbyterian Church in Huntsville, Alabama on Thursday, November 15th, 2018. I call this quilt Joyful Journey, and it's really the quilt that changed everything for me. I've been quilting more than 35 years, and I've been teaching quilting classes for over 30 years as well. When I started to make this quilt, I was given the pattern by the designer, who was Sue Garman, and she was in the process of getting it ready to be sold, the pattern to be available. So she gave me the pattern so I could sort of test them out, and I pulled some of my most favorite fabrics from my fabric stash and started working on it. And I quickly decided that this quilt needed and deserved the best work I was capable of doing. So I took things apart that normally would have been okay, but I left it did the very best that I could. And when I got the top all done, I showed it to one of the quilt shop owners here at a local shop, and she said, "Oh, that's interesting. Well, you know you have a basket upside down in there?" And I didn't know that I had a basket upside down. There's only 2 blocks in this entire quilt. There are 2 baskets that have an orientation. There's a basket there, and there's another one on the bottom row. And I had that one upside down. And she said, "Oh, well, you can leave that, no problem. Just it'll be your, your God's eye, or your intentional mistake." And it was a top. So at that point, there was no way I could leave it. And I took it home and spent hours taking that part out and turning the basket around. Had it not gotten turned around until after it was quilted, it would have been a design decision. But in the meantime, I just had to leave. I had to take it out. And then I found a wonderful quilter in California who I saw her work on Facebook, and I contacted her about quilting the quilt. I wanted to enter it in Houston, and once I had given the quilt to her to do the quilting, I learned that Houston and a few of the other big shows do not allow quilts to be entered if any money had changed hands. So when I got home she's in California, and I gave the quilt to her there at a show I was working at. I contacted her and I said, "No, if you're not interested in this, please don't be offended that I asked, but would you be interested in doing a collaboration? Because that's acceptable if one person's the quilter and one person's the piecer, as long as money didn't change hands." And her husband had seen my top and fell in love with it, so within 2 minutes I had an answer back: "Steve says yes." So I made another one of these tops. While she was quilting this, I made another one for her. I've since made 2 more. One was our raffle quilt. I'm not making any more of these. That's done. But it turned out to be a wonderful quilt, and it started me on the journey of blogging, and where I've made a lot of friends all around the world that follow my blog. And the quilt that I'm most well known for now is the red and white quilt that was the commemorative quilt for Houston's festival of 2014, which was the 40th anniversary. The corporation bought that quilt and they own it, so I only see it from time to time. It was in Houston on display this past week where I was working. So that's nice, but this is my favorite quilt because it's got my favorite colors.